All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is September 26, 2025. I have a market update coming out next week, but I thought it'd be important for you to see this video first because over the last week to 2 weeks, I've fielded a ton of calls about what is going on here in the market. So it is definitely changing. You know, if you're noticing price reductions, if you're noticing things are sitting on the market longer, it's true they are. I'm not going to say the market is crashing, but there's definitely a change of foot. Maine usually lags behind the rest of the country. Well, it's reached here now. So if you're thinking about buying or selling or investing, this video is going to be for you. It's not going to be that long. I encourage you to sit back, watch it, and we're going to get after that right now. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Real quick, my name is Scott Tebow. I'm a broker with eXp Realty. I'm also a father, a husband, a grandfather, a veteran, a patriot, a son of Maine, yada, yada, yada. If you want to know more about me, just watch some of my other videos where I go more in depth. This video is really about, this episode is really about what is happening in the Maine marketplace. So I just pulled up the last month real estate numbers from, I did this yesterday, from August 25th of 2025 till yesterday, September 25th of 2025. And the inquiries I'm getting and the emails I'm getting and what I'm seeing is true. This is what's happening. I got my cheat notes right here. So I'm going to be looking down a little bit as I read them, but I just want to get you guys all on the same page so you understand kind of what's going on in the real estate market. And I don't think this is just in Maine. I think this is across the country. Maine, like I said, lags behind a little bit, but here we are. Here we go, guys. I did two kind of subsets. I did Southern Maine, which is York and Cumberland counties. And I did it those two counties because that makes up the majority, well, not the majority, but like 45 to 50% of the population lives in Maine in those two counties. And then I did the rest of the state just so you understand kind of, is this data germane just to the state or just York and Cumberland counties, or is it kind of a blended average? And what I discovered is this is kind of what's happening all over the state. And I bet if you're a realtor watching this and you live in another state and you do these statistics, you're going to find this out as well. I've kind of already known it, but the facts actually point out what the truths are. So let's get into it. Right now, guys, in Southern Maine, this is all listings. That doesn't mean they're under contract, they're pending. This just means they're active on the market. In Southern Maine, York and Cumberland counties, there's 1,186 active listings in the state of in Southern Maine. And for the whole state of Maine, there's 4,746 listings. So about 25% of all the listings in the state of Maine is in Southern Maine compared to the entire state. Price reductions, the first thing I want to talk about. 45% of the houses that are on the market right now in Southern Maine have had a price reduction since they've come on the market. The market is slowing, guys. I'm not saying it's crashing, but it's slowing. So sellers, hear this up, hear this really well. Don't try to convince your realtor of what your home's price is. If you don't like what they tell you, maybe you should find a different realtor. If you find a realtor that you know, like, and trust and knows what they're doing and can provide you the stats, what's going on in the market, heed that, because gone is 2022. Gone is 2023. The market is coming down. The market, I want to say, starting to balance. I'm not saying it's crashing, but it's definitely heading to the different perspective than it was over the last few years, where prices were just aggressively growing faster and faster. So 45% home reductions in Southern Maine. If you expand that to the entire state, 50%, guys, 50% of all active listings on the market in Maine, of that 4,746 total listings, 50% of them, half of them are or have seen price reductions. First warning, Let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let me get into some of these numbers of days on market. This is really telling a trend of what's going on. Sellers and buyers heed this because it potentially could be starting to balance out a little bit more for you buyers out there. And for you sellers, understand the market is starting to slow. It's actually, I think, starting to come to a crest where it's not going to accelerate much further unless something crazy happens. I mean, if the interest rates drop 100, 200 basis points, maybe that'll spur more buyer activity, more supply and demand. I don't see that happen. I see maybe a quarter or another half a point between now and the end of the year. Maybe if we get lucky, a total of 1 point and throughout the rest of 2025. Remember, it's already dropped 25% basis point. But also remember, people say, hey, our mortgage rate's going down because the Feds just dropped the interest rate 25 basis points. Guys, that doesn't mean mortgages are going down. That the mortgage industry is based upon the U.S. Treasury notes. And U.S. Treasury notes have actually gone up a little bit. What that interest rates do is it helps for car loans, credit card debt, interest rates like that, not mortgages. Not saying that it won't reflect on mortgages as we move forward into this year. But let's look at days on market, and the data does not lie, guys. After 7 days, 88% of the real estate in Southern Maine is still active on the market. And across the entire state, it's 92%. What does that mean? That means if you put your house on the market, it's still being active after 7 days. So if you remember the days, you put a house on the market and it's gone, or it's under contract, or it's pending 3 or 4 days, 88% in Southern Maine, 92% across the entire state are still active after 7 days, only a week. Not bad. We're only talking 7 days, right? You got to have some expectations. But let's expand that out. Let's go after 30 days. What's going on in the market? In Southern Maine, 61% of the homes, this is for single family homes only, guys, is still active on the market, not under contract. That means that they have not received offers to meet what their price demand is. And if you look at that statewide, that number is 71%. So after 30 days in the market, 61 and 71 respectively, Southern Maine versus the entire state, sellers have not received offers to meet what they're asking for in price, and hence why you're seeing price reductions. Let's expand this out to 60 days. Your house has been on the market for 2 months. Still, in Southern Maine, 42% of all listings are still on the market, active, no contract, still haven't met the demand that the seller is looking for. That's in Southern Maine. And across the state, after 60 days, 51%, guys, more than half the houses that are listed are still on the market 60 days later. That number is astonishing considering how fast Maine's market has grown and how fast things were selling here just 2 years ago. I'm going to take it one step further. 90 days out, you have now had your house on the market for 90 days, 3 months. Here's the reality, guys. If you've had your house on the market for 90 days and it's still active and you do not have a contract, something needs to change, because you're getting a couple of problems. You're getting stigmatism with your house, or buyers are going to think something's wrong with the house. You're going to need to drop the price and come to reality. Or maybe you should take your house on the market and try it again later, because after 90 days, if your house hasn't sold, there's actually some challenges. Either your house has some material defects and people don't want to take on that risk. Your house is priced too high. Could be location. Generally, its house is priced too high. But guys, after 90 days in Southern Maine, 29%, the hottest market, I would argue, not just in Maine, but across the country with so many people moving here, 29% of all houses in Southern Maine are still on the market. And in the state, it's 37%. So outside of Southern Maine, if your house isn't sold, you're in that 37% number. After 90 days, you got some challenges, guys, and you need to have a real conversation with your realtor, make sure they're doing the right things. You may have to look at price concessions even more. You may have to make some improvements to your house. You're going to have to do something if you want to sell that property, because these numbers don't lie, guys. These are statistics from the last 30 days coming right out of summer. In general, also, I'll also share this with you. 6%, I didn't do it for the whole state. I think it's a little higher, but 6% of all listings in Maine have expired. This is talking this time frame. So not a lot of, 60% of sellers who've had their house on the market couldn't sell it. So it expired. In other words, they didn't recontract. They took the house off the market and are doing something different with it. All right, guys. So what does this all mean to you? This shows that days on home selling instantly are gone. They're just gone. Buyers are being more pickier and they have more options, and rates are still weighing in. Buyers are getting fatigued with the high interest rates or the higher interest rates. And it's not so much the rate, it's the price of the market and the housing price. So you're seeing in Maine, especially here in Southern Maine, a lot of the locals can't afford the market, can't afford the housing prices here in Southern Maine because they just don't make enough money to live in a $700,000, $600,000, $500,000 house. And what you are seeing is out-of-state buyers coming in, wanting to get out of the craziness, the hustle and bustle, the crime, the traffic, the congestion, all that, the craziness of the rest of this country, and are moving to Southern Maine. That's number one. So let me give you some advice if you're a seller out there in Maine and you're looking to put your house on the market. Price has to be right from the start. No guessing. No, hey, let's try this, and if it doesn't work, we can reduce it. We can reduce it. I can't speak this morning. Let's try this. No, price has to be right because houses, remember I showed you another statistic, after 7 days, where was it? After 7 days, 61%. No, I'm sorry. After 7 days, where's that video? Where's that? After 7 days, 88% are still active. That means 12%, if your house is priced right and it's in good shape, 12% are still selling within that, or at least going under contract within that first 7 days. So again, make sure your house is priced right, because when you go to cut, it sends a signal to the market that you've overpriced your house. You or your realtor or whomever you're working with has overpriced your house. And again, guys, we live in a free enterprise system. The market always tells what's going on. So make sure you're positioned correctly in the market. Make sure you understand comps in the area, or whoever you're working with does. See what's going on in the area. Position your house properly to sell. You should be able to, even though it sounds good or bad, you should be able to ask your realtor, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, why do you think my house is worth X, right? And they shouldn't say it's a gut feeling. They need to have data. Data tells the truth. You just got to understand it and read it correctly. Advice for buyers. If you're a buyer, this is good news. The market for the longest time since COVID has been a seller's market, and you've been at the mercy. You've had chains tied to your anklets. You've been at the mercy of the sellers, and you've been at the mercy of the market. Houses were going so fast just 2 to 3 years ago. You had to walk into a house, walk into a property on a showing or an open house, make an offer right then and there, and hope that your offer was strong enough to get it because everybody else is doing the same thing. Those days are not completely gone, but they're almost gone. So you have a lot better opportunity to potentially get a house that you're looking for. And especially if you're looking for deals, have your realtor start looking at houses that have been in the market for 60 or 90 days. That house may need a little bit more work. That house may be a little bit still overpriced. Who knows what the reasons are, but you'll have more negotiation potential and opportunity for those houses that have been sitting on the market longer. Obviously, guys, you're all pretty smart out there. You know this already. I just want to emphasize why you as a buyer are starting to gain some advantages after it's been a seller's market for so long. So in closing, is the Maine market changing? It absolutely is. It is definitely slowing down. Is it crashing? It's not crashing, but it's definitely slowing down. Who knows? Maybe I'll be making a video in 2 months and see that it's further coming down, which would start the signal of a crash or a recession. But it's not crashing. There's just opportunities on both sides. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Maine, Strategy is important. Make sure you're talking to your realtor or to whomever is representing you to make sure you have a strategy, guys, not just as a seller, but also as a buyer. It is more important than ever. You can't just throw your house on the MLS and hope that it sells. You're going to maybe need to go a little bit further. With that being said, guys, I hope this information was helpful. It's just a snapshot of where we are in the last 30 days. Again, if you want more information, subscribe to this channel. My name is Scott Tebow at Live Life in Maine. I have partners across the state that I work with to help buyers anywhere in the state of Maine if it's not in Southern Maine. And if it is in Southern Maine, not only will you be working with me directly if it's in Southern Maine, I will be involved in every aspect of the purchase or sale, depending what side of the equation on, whether you're an investor, buyer, or seller. If you're out of Southern Maine, then I hand a lot of that off to my partnerships. I'm involved every step of the way. I'm just not on the ground. It just doesn't make sense for me to be driving 3 hours or 2.5 hours to, any place past Augusta. And I get it, guys. There's a lot of you that are looking for houses in that market because they're a little less priced than, in some cases, a lot less priced than they are in Southern Maine. That being said, Southern Maine is still the hottest market because everybody wants to live down here. There's so many things to do. You got the beautiful beaches. You got all the industry, you got all the kind of community, you're not in the rural, even though Maine, a lot of people think Maine's pretty rural. It's not in Southern Maine. So without further ado, guys, I hope this information was helpful. Here's your call to action. If you're a buyer and you haven't had much success, start looking at houses that have been on the market longer. Ask your realtor to start looking at houses that have been on the market longer. You have more strategy and more opportunity. You can create more strategies and more opportunities if you're doing that. If you're a seller, the only strategy I can recommend is make sure your numbers are tight. Make sure that pencil is as sharp as can be shopped. If you are looking to sell your house quickly, like within 30 days. If you're okay and you want to let it sit for a while, that's your prerogative. That being said, we're starting to come into the colder months. October is one of the fastest months that houses sell, but after October, things start really slowing down. So just be prepared, guys, of what's going on in the market. And stay educated, whether it's through this channel or somebody else. Stay educated, stay on top of it if you're in the market to buy, sell, invest. Hope this information was helpful, guys. In about a week, I'm going to give you a market update like I do every month once the books close for the month of September. Until then, stay safe. Have a great weekend. Hopefully it's dry where you're at. If you're going to be in here in Maine, it looks like it's going to be another beautiful weekend. We've had, I don't know how many of them in a row. It's just awesome to be here. In the summertime. In fall, it's getting a little crispier. Love this time of the year. The pumpkins are out. The corn stalks are out. The hunt through mazes are out. The kids are getting excited for Halloween, and the cooler weather's out, and a lot of cornhole going on across the, at least where I'm at Bailey's and Camping. Love this time of the year. It's great to be outdoors. But with that being said, guys, hope this information was helpful. Take care. Contact me, send me a text, send me an email. Let me know if you want more information, want to know more about how you can move to Maine, how you can sell in Maine, or if you're looking to invest. All right, guys, take care. Scott Tebow over and out. Bye-bye.